It started with a phone call about a parking ticket. I was at work when a number I didn't recognize rang. A woman's voice asked if I was Mrs. Paul Mathers. I said yes. She said, "You might want to talk to your husband. His car has been parked illegally outside my building 3 times this month." I said, "Where exactly?" She gave me an address in a different part of town. A quiet area full of townhouses and duplexes. I told her she had the wrong person. She said, I took a photo of the plate. She sent it. It was his car. At first, I thought maybe he was visiting someone. A friend. A co-worker. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. But something felt wrong. Head always told me he was working late at the office or stuck in traffic. I never suspected anything, really. Paul was stable, quiet, predictable. The kind of guy who reminded you to drink water and change the oil early. But the next day, I drove to the address. I parked a block away, sat in the car, waited. Sure enough, at 7:13 p.m, I saw him. He pulled into the driveway of a small duplex, walked to the door like he belonged there, used a key. I waited an hour, then I walked up and knocked. A woman answered, mid-30s, pretty, blonde, holding a baby. She looked confused. I said, "Is Paul here?" Her face went white. Before she could answer, he appeared behind her, his face a frozen mix of horror and disbelief. "Claire," he said, "what are you doing here? I could ask you the same." The woman turned and said, "Claire." I looked at her. "Who are you?" She said, "I'm his wife." Time stopped. I almost laughed. I actually did laugh. Then started shaking. "I'm his wife," I said. She said, "We've been married 5 years." I said, "We've been married 12. The baby started crying. Paul tried to speak. We both screamed at him. He stuttered, said he didn't mean for it to happen like this, that he loved us both, that he was trapped in a lie and didn't know how to stop. I left. I drove home with my hands trembling on the wheel. The next few days were a blur. I filed for divorce, froze our joint accounts, changed the locks. He called, left messages, wrote emails, apologies, justifications, excuses. He said he met her at a conference, that the baby might not even be his. I didn't care. He lived 2 lives, 2 homes, 2 stories. He told her I was a cousin with issues, told her he sometimes had to go care for me. She believed him. Why wouldn't she? He was careful, smart, kind. She divorced him too. They moved back in with her parents. One didn't speak to him again. I changed cities, started therapy, found a new job, started over. People say, how could you not know? But sociopaths don't wear labels. They wear smiles. They pay bills. They compliment your dress while texting another woman across town. I sleep alone now, by choice, because if I ever share a bed again, it won't be with a man who needs a second lease to feel whole. Second story, we met in high school. She was the cheerleader. I was the awkward kid with a bass guitar and a bad haircut. Somehow, she picked me, fell in love with me, married me at 23. It felt like winning the lottery. My best friend, Jason, was my best man. We grew up together, played video games in his garage, ditched class to go skateboarding, pulled pranks on teachers. He was the brother I never had. We were a trio. Me, Emma, and Jason. They got along great. Maybe too great. But I never questioned it. Because why would I? Trust is like glass. Invisible until it breaks. Our first few years of marriage were amazing. We didn't have much, but we were happy. Emma started teaching kindergarten. I worked in a warehouse. Jason moved nearby and came over for dinner often. When Emma got pregnant, we cried together. I kissed her belly every night. Jason brought gifts. He even helped paint the nursery. He cried at the baby shower when he gave her a silver rattle. The baby came early. Complications. Blood pressure spikes. NICU stay. But she pulled through. We named her Mia. She had Emma's nose, my ears, Jason's dimples. One didn't notice that last part until much later. When Mia was 2, Emma asked me if I would be okay with Jason being her godfather. I said, of course. Why wouldn't I? He was family. Everything started to unravel when I found an old laptop. I was looking for files, backing things up. The laptop was Emma's, used mostly for work. It wasn't password protected. I found a folder called Grading Notes. Inside were photos of her and Jason, together, kissing, naked, hotel rooms, date stamps going back years. I sat in the dark, scrolling, heart racing, skin burning. Then I saw it. A photo of her belly, pregnant. He was behind her, hands on her stomach, both of them smiling. The timestamp, 2 weeks before she told me she was pregnant. I confronted her. She didn't deny it. She cried, said she was sorry, said she loved both of us, that she didn't know who the father was, but hoped it was mine. I took a paternity test. Mia wasn't mine. I can't describe what it felt like to read that paper, to realize that every lullaby, Every diaper, every scraped knee I kissed was based on a lie. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because Mia was asleep in her room, because she still called me daddy. Jason didn't even fight me about it. He apologized, quietly, sighed. I didn't mean to ruin everything, but he did. I left Emma. I gave her full custody. I couldn't bear to fight over a child that biologically wasn't mine, even if emotionally she was. I still get birthday cards from Mia. They call me Uncle Liam now. Jason married Emma 6 months after the divorce. Sometimes I see photos of them online. Family photos, matching shirts, happy captions. It's the kind of image I used to dream of. But now, when I see it, all I feel is how far a smile can stretch to cover up betrayal. Third story, I walked into my own engagement party and found out he was engaged to someone else to wed, been together for 3.5 years. Ben was charming. He had that easy kind of warmth that made strangers open up to him. He held doors, remembered your coffee order, sent good morning texts with pictures of his dog wrapped in blankets. I felt safe with him. I thought he was the one. We met at a concert. He was standing behind me in line for drinks, made a dumb joke about the overpriced beer, and I laughed harder than I should. That night, we danced to live music in the rain. He kissed me under a neon sign and said, "Let's not let this be the last time." It wasn't. We moved in after a year, traveled together, talked about kids, houses, old age. He even asked what kind of rings I liked once, while we were walking past a jeweler. So when he proposed, in the park, with fairy lights and a photographer hiding in the bushes, I said yes before he even finished the sentence. We set the engagement party for early spring. A casual evening with family and close friends, just a celebration before we started planning the wedding. My sister offered to host it at her house. Decorations, snacks, flowers, the works. The day came. I got my hair done, wore the white dress I bought just for the occasion. My mom flew in. My best friend brought a cake with our initials. Everyone was there, waiting. Everyone except Ben. I thought he was just running late. He wasn't answering his phone. But Ben was forgetful, bad with his ringer, always losing track of time. An hour passed, then 2. People started whispering. My mom asked if she should start calling hospitals, and then my sister pulled me aside. She looked pale, shaking. She said, "You need to see this." She handed me her phone, opened to an Instagram story. A mutual friend had posted it. Ben, wearing a suit, standing next to another woman, smiling, cutting a cake, with a sign behind them that said, "She said yes." I felt like the floor dropped from under me. The woman, I recognized her, vaguely. She was tagged as a Tell Him Heart. I clicked. Her page was public. Ben, everywhere. Photos of them on vacations, cuddling, kissing, captions like "Can't wait to be your wife," dates overlapping hours. I scrolled and scrolled, each image another knife. Their engagement party was today. Same time, different house. He had proposed to both of us within the same month. I left the party in silence, got in the car, drove to the address on Ellie's story. It was her parents' house. I parked across the street and waited. At 8:03 p.m, he came outside to take a phone call. I stepped out of my car. His face went blank. "Claire, I can explain." I didn't say a word. I just threw the ring into the street and walked away. He never followed me. 2 days later, Ellie messaged me. She found out. Someone sent her the screenshots. She was shattered. Said he told her I was a crazy ex who couldn't let go. That he never even lived with me. That I was obsessed. We cried on the phone together. Compared timelines. Compared pain. She left him. So did I. No one has seen him since. Deleted socials. Changed numbers. Vanished. I still can't hear she said yes without feeling sick. I kept one photo of us from that first concert, just to remind myself what lies can look like when they're dressed up as dreams. Full story, I paid off my husband's debt. Then found out he was using my money to take his mistress on vacations when we got married. I knew money would be tight. Ethan had always struggled with finances, bad credit, some student loan issues, and a habit of making impulsive purchases. But I believed in him. I told myself love was more important than a credit score. I was wrong. I was always the saver. My parents taught me early on to manage money, track every cent, avoid debt. So when Ethan and I combined finances, I took over the bills. I built us a budget. I opened a joint account. He agreed to it. He insisted he wanted to get on track. The first red flag came 6 months in. I noticed a $600 withdrawal from the joint account labeled cash. I asked him about it. He said, I had to cover an old parking ticket. Don't worry about it. I believed him. Then came another one. $900. Then $1,200. Each time, a new excuse. Car repair, loan to a friend. Surprise for you, you'll see. But I never saw anything. He was always vague, distracted, started staying out later. I chalked it up to work stress. Then, one night, I got an alert on my email. A declined transaction from our joint account at a luxury resort in Cabo San Lucas. $2,400. Room service and spa. I stared at it for a full minute. I was home alone. He was supposedly out with co-workers. I checked the banking portal. Dozens of charges. Restaurants I'd never been to. Hotels I'd never stayed at. Flights I never boarded. I went numb. The next morning, I called the credit card company and ordered full statements. Had spent over $14,000 in 2 months, and not a single dollar was for us. I confronted him that night, laid the paperwork on the table, asked him to explain every charge. At first, he laughed, sighed, "You're overreacting." Then I pulled out the hotel invoices, with his name, and her name. Her name was Melody. I'd never heard of her. Turns out, she worked at his office. 26, recently divorced, loved yoga and Instagram. He met her during a group project, told her he was in the middle of a separation, said I was toxic and controlling. She believed him. She also believed he had money, because he used mine. Vacations, jewelry, spa treatments, all funded by the woman who thought she was building a life with him, me. I kicked him out that night. He cried, begged, said it was just an escape, that he still loved me, that he wasn't thinking straight. He blamed the stress. He blamed me. He never blamed himself. I filed for divorce the next week, froze the accounts, reported the fraud, sued him to reclaim the joint funds. It took over a year. He fought it tooth and nail, claimed I had given him permission, but the judge sided with me. I got my money back. What I never recovered was the time. The years I spent believing was supporting someone who was secretly using my generosity as a bankroll for betrayal. The worst part, he still sends me texts. "Miss you. We were great once. She left me. I made a mistake." But I stopped replying long ago, because if love is a bank account, he overdrew mine until it collapsed. Now, I save everything, including my trust, for someone who earns it. Fifth story, my wife lied about our son's paternity for 13 years. When I first held Ethan in my arms, I cried so hard, the nurse thought something was wrong. I'd never felt love like that before. My whole world shrank to 7 pounds of warmth wrapped in a striped hospital blanket. He had my chin, my laugh. Everyone said so. I believed them. For 13 years, my wife, Natalie, and I met in college. Fell hard, married young. She was my anchor. Bright, stubborn, spontaneous in the best ways. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. Also, I thought, Ethan was born after 4 years of marriage. Unexpected, but welcome. We both wanted kids. She said she'd stopped taking the pill accidentally. I remember smiling when she told me. It felt like fate. I was there for everything. Every birthday, every flu, every school recital. I coached his soccer team. I stayed up late helping with science fair projects. I taught him how to ride a bike, how to tie a tie. I was his dad. Then, at Ethan's routine physical, age 13, the doctor casually mentioned something about blood types. Ethan was type R. I'm type O. So is Natalie. I froze. I asked the doctor, can 2 O parents have an off child? She paused, sighed, no, it's not genetically possible. I laughed nervously, said maybe there was a mistake in the records. But when we got home, I couldn't shake it. I started Googling, reading, calling my cousin who was a nurse. Same answer every time. To O-type parents cannot biologically have an off child. That night, I confronted Natalie. She tried to brush it off, sighed, that's ridiculous. Blood types are unreliable. Maybe yours is wrong. I offered to take a paternity test. She went silent. Then she said, why would you want to ruin everything? I asked her one more time, is he mine? She broke, sank to the floor, said, it was a mistake, a one-night thing, before we were serious. Except it wasn't before we were serious. It was after we got married, when she had a fight with me and went out drinking with co-workers. He was someone I knew. She never told me, never even considered it might not be mine. Or worse, maybe she knew. I took the test. Ethan wasn't mine. I sat in my car in the driveway for 3 hours after getting the result. I wanted to disappear, wanted to forget. But when I walked in and saw Ethan building Legos on the floor, everything crumbled. He looked up and said, hey, Dad, come help me build this tank. I couldn't move. I realized, in that moment, that no DNA test could erase the bond I had with that boy. I was his father, no matter what biology said. But Natalie, I couldn't look at her without seeing the betrayal. I told her I wanted a separation. She begged, said she'd do anything. I said, you already did everything. Without me. We divorced the next year. I stayed in Ethan's life, still picked him up from school, still went to every game. He doesn't know the truth. Not yet. Maybe someday. But I'll never let him feel unwanted. Natalie remarried 2 years later. One didn't attend the wedding. I don't hate her. I don't think she meant to hurt anyone, but her silence was a theft of my right to choose what kind of father I wanted to be. She gave me a lie wrapped in love, and it took me 13 years to unwrap it. 6th story, my husband faked a terminal illness to keep me from leaving him. I almost didn't write this. Even now, years later, I hesitate, because writing it makes it real, and because I still feel shame that I didn't see it for what it was, not until the damage was done. But people need to know how far someone will go to keep control, even under the disguise of love. We were together for 11 years, married for 7. His name was Aaron. Everyone loved Aaron. Charming, funny, always the guy who made the waiter laugh or helped old ladies with their groceries. He worked in advertising. Good job. Lots of late hours, lots of creative deadlines. I was a middle school teacher. We met at a bar trivia night. He corrected my answer on a Beatles question, and I told him he was wrong. I was right, by the way, and that's how it started. He said he loved how confident I was. Confidence. That word would come to haunt me later. In the beginning, he was kind. The kind of man who texts you good morning and good night, who holds your hand while you sleep. But as the years passed, something changed. Slowly. He didn't want me going out as much. Then not at all, unless he was with me. He would criticize what I wore, always under the pretense of just looking out for me. He'd ask why I didn't lose the wedding weight, even though he swore he loved my body. When I got a promotion to lead my department, he joked that it'd be too good for him soon. He wasn't joking. By year 6, I realized I wasn't in love anymore. I felt like a ghost of the person he'd been. He had subtly chipped away at my self-worth, little by little, with compliments wrapped in poison. I was walking on eggshells, apologizing for things I hadn't done, second-guessing every decision. I started therapy in secret, and then, on a Tuesday morning, I made the decision. I was going to leave him. I hadn't told him yet, but he'd looked at apartments. I had my savings. I told my therapist. I was terrified, but ready. That Friday, he told me he had cancer. Terminal. Stage for pancreatic cancer. I went numb. He cried in my arms, said he didn't want to tell me until he had a full diagnosis, that he'd known for weeks, that the doctors gave him 6 months if he was lucky. I remember saying, "This isn't fair," and I meant it. I dropped everything. I cancelled the apartment viewing, paused my therapist, took time off work. I cooked every meal, sat with him at night, read to him, held him when he said he was scared. He never let me come to appointments with him. Always said, "I don't want you to see me like that." I believed him. He started chemo. I saw him vomit in the bathroom, lose weight, lose hair. I watched him weaken. Also I thought. He showed me prescriptions, scans, discharge papers. I didn't question them, because who would lie about dying? 8 months passed. He didn't die. He didn't even get worse. I asked his doctor's name again. He got defensive, accused me of not trusting him, said I was just waiting for him to die so I could move on. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I looked up the hospital he said he was treated at. There was no doctor, Laskin in oncology, no record of him. I called the main desk. They said no one by his name had ever been treated there. I thought, maybe I called the wrong hospital. Then I found the prescriptions he'd left on the counter. They looked real. His name, dosage. But when I googled the pharmacy address, it didn't exist. I felt the blood drain from my face. The next day, I followed him when he said he had a chemo session. He drove to a coffee shop, sat there for 2 hours, reading a book. I watched from across the street, shaking. When he came home, he walked through the door slowly, moaning in pain, said the side effects were getting worse. I asked, "How was chemo?" He said, "Brutal." I said, "That's funny. I saw you at Java Junction reading a paperback." His face changed, dropped, like a mask sliding off. He didn't deny it. He sat down, rubbed his face, sighed. "I knew you were going to leave. I felt it. I had to do something." I asked, "So you pretended to be dying?" He said, "I thought it would bring us back together. I thought you'd remember how much you loved me. I thought if you saw me as fragile, you wouldn't walk away." I asked how he faked the vomiting. He said he made himself do it. I asked about the hair loss. He shaved it. I asked about the prescriptions. He printed them. I was so stunned I couldn't speak. My brain was trying to reject the information. The last 8 months flashed before me. Every sleepless night, every sob, every shoulder rub I gave him thinking he was facing death. All a lie. All of it. I called my therapist. I told my family. I filed for divorce. He didn't fight it. He didn't even show up in court. Afterward, he sent me a letter, handwritten, 5 pages of apology, of twisted logic. He said he knew it was wrong, but he had no one else, and he panicked, that he had never felt so scared of losing someone. I never replied. I moved to a new city, started over. To this day, people don't believe this kind of thing actually happens, but I lived it. Every lie, every fake cough, every imagined scam. People ask me, how didn't you know? I ask them, why would I doubt someone telling me they were dying? That's the thing about emotional abuse. It doesn't start with fists. It starts with guilt, with convincing you that love is sacrifice, that suspicion is betrayal, that you are the cruel one for questioning anything. But now I know better. Love doesn't require deception, or manipulation, or terminal illness as emotional leverage. Love stands in truth, even when that truth means letting go. 7th story, I spent 10 years blaming myself for my wife's coldness. Then I found the box in her closet. We got married young. Too young, probably. Emily was 22. I was 24. We were college sweethearts. She had long, copper hair, the kind that made her look like she glowed in the sun, and this rare combination of intelligence and warmth that made people open up to her in seconds.